used to think long night drives were peaceful, a chance to clear my head, a chance to be alone with my thoughts, with the road humming under the tires, and nothing but the low drone of the engine keeping me company. But every time I think about that night on Highway 43, I get this cold feeling in my chest, a tightness, like my body remembers what happened even before my mind does. I don't tell this story much anymore, because the few times I have, people gave me that look, the half-concerned, half-skeptical one, the one that says they think you imagined it. But I know what I saw, and what I heard, and what stood behind me in that cabin. It started with a stupid decision, the kind everyone makes at some point in their life. I'd been staying with an old friend in a small town 3 states away. The plan was to leave in the morning, but that afternoon he said something like, "Hey, I'm leaving early for work tomorrow, so you'll have to let yourself out." For some reason, that annoyed me more than it should have. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe I didn't sleep well on his couch. Maybe I didn't want to wake up alone in someone else's house. Whatever the reason, I got it into my head that I'd rather drive through the night and sleep in my own bed. So around 11:42 p.m., I got in my car, filled up at a cheap 24-hour gas station, and headed toward home. I'd driven that route a dozen times in daylight. In the sun, it felt harmless. Rolling hills, quiet farms, long open stretches of 2-lane road winding through thick pine forests. At night, it looked like a completely different place. The darkness wasn't just dark, it was deep, heavy, like the trees swallowed the light instead of reflecting it. About an hour into the drive, the road narrowed and the forest got denser. My cell signal flickered in and out. I wasn't surprised. That whole section of Highway 43 had no service. Locals told stories about it constantly. Too many blind curves, bad accidents, mountain lions, strange hikers, all the typical local rumors meant to scare out-of-towners. I didn't care. I just wanted to be home. But somewhere around mile marker 43, my GPS screen flickered. Just once at first. A little glitch. Then another. Then the entire map froze mid-turn, like the screen was stuck in place. I tapped it. Nothing. I restarted the app. Still nothing. I pulled over into a dirt shoulder that barely counted as a pull-off at all. Just enough space for a single car. When I turned off the engine, I noticed something immediately. Silence. Not nighttime quiet. Not the rustle of trees, or the sound of insects, or the distant call of some animal. Just nothing. A thick, suffocating nothingness that pressed against my ears. I stepped out of the car with my phone raised, hoping there'd be some tiny pocket of signal I could catch if I walked a few steps in either direction. I waved it around like an idiot, trying to find a single bar. Then I saw it. Through the trees, a warm light, barely visible through the branches, maybe 100 feet off the road. It flickered slightly like a porch light. A cabin? Out here? That didn't make sense. Most of the land around that part of the road was supposed to be state forest, with no houses, no hunting lodges, nothing. Still, the thought of a landline was enough to make me curious, or maybe desperate. I walked toward it, pushing through branches, the forest floor soft and damp under my shoes. The smell of wet pine hit me, mixed with something older, old wood maybe, or dust. It took a few minutes of pushing through thick undergrowth, but then I saw it clearly. A small, old cabin with a slanted roof and a single porch light glowing a faint amber. The cabin looked abandoned, and not abandoned. Like someone used it sometimes, but not enough to keep it in good condition. The wooden steps creaked under me as I climbed the porch. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I waited. Knocked again. Still nothing. I was about to leave when I noticed the door wasn't closed all the way. It was cracked. Not open enough to see inside, just open enough that it had definitely been moved recently. I pushed it gently. The sound that came from the hinges was long and loud, louder than it should have been. It echoed in the empty space inside. The cabin interior was lit by a dim lamp in the corner. The light was warm but weak, like it barely had the energy to stay on. There were no pictures, no furniture except for a small wooden table. And sitting directly in the center of that table was a landline phone, an old one, beige plastic with a coiled cord. I stepped toward it. The moment my hand hovered above it, it rang. Not a normal ring, sharper, higher, almost metallic like someone hitting a piece of steel. I jumped. My heart hammered so hard I felt it in my throat. The phone rang again. The sound echoed off the bare walls. I picked it up with shaking fingers. Hello? Static at first, a low hiss. Then the static shifted, and underneath it, a whisper, a voice, my voice, quiet, urgent. Don't turn around. I dropped the phone so hard it bounced and skidded across the floor. The cabin felt colder instantly, like something had sucked all the warmth out of the air in one breath. Then, behind me, a floorboard creaked, slowly, heavily. Something was standing inside the cabin with me. I froze. Every muscle locked up. My breath stopped in my chest. The creak wasn't like settling wood. It was the sound of weight, shifted by a foot. Another creak. Closer. I didn't turn. I didn't even blink. My body felt like it was trying to disappear into itself. I took a step backward, then another, towards the open door. Whatever was behind me didn't rush. It didn't run. It moved slowly, almost methodically, as if it knew I couldn't escape fast enough. When I reached the doorway, I didn't look back. I bolted. I sprinted into the trees so fast branches scraped my arms, my face, my legs. I don't know how I didn't fall. I don't know how I found the road. My car felt like the only safe thing in the world when I reached it. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and jammed the key into the ignition. The GPS screen came back instantly, perfectly normal, as if it had never frozen. I drove for hours without stopping. Didn't drink water, didn't turn on music, didn't look in the rearview mirror once. When I reached the next town, I pulled into a brightly lit gas station and sat there for nearly half an hour, just breathing, trying to slow the shaking in my hands. I told myself every explanation in the book. It was an echo. It wasn't your voice. Someone else was hiding in the cabin. The phone was a prank. The floor creaked because of temperature changes. I told myself everything except the thing I really felt, that the voice on the phone knew me. 2 days later, I checked my phone notifications. I had a new voicemail. No number, no caller ID, just a timestamp, 11:43 p.m., the exact minute I stepped into that cabin. I listened to it. The first sound was slow breathing. Not mine, not like mine. Lower, steadier. Then, my voice whispered, "I told you not to turn around." And that was it. But the part that still keeps me awake sometimes, my phone was in my car the whole time. I never took it into the cabin. No one had access to it. But somehow, someone did. And whenever I have to drive past mile marker 43, even during the day, I always roll up my windows. Because every time, every single time, it feels like something in the trees is watching me, waiting. People always think horror lives in basements, attics, abandoned hospitals, places with walls that can trap you. But the truth is, the scariest night of my life didn't happen inside anything. It happened on a long, empty gravel road. No houses, no neighbors, no streetlights, just open fields, a rusted fence line, and a radio tower blinking red in the distance like it was warning me to stay away. I used to work maintenance for a communications company back when I was in college. Barely anyone knows this. But those towers, the huge ones with the blinking lights, they go down all the time at night. Weather, electrical surges, animals chewing through cables, you name it. When that happens, someone has to go out there and physically log the issue. Not always fix it, just log it so the real techs know what they're dealing with. On paper, it's easy money. Drive out, check the panel, take photos, drive home. Nothing scary. That night, it was around 12:30 a.m. when my supervisor called. The tower out on Old Creek Fields wasn't responding. I knew the place. It was rural in a way outsiders don't understand. No farmhouses, no barns, just endless fields stretching into nothing, and a gravel road that felt like it went on forever. My supervisor didn't want to go. I could hear it in his voice. "Just a quick check," he said. "Probably a tripped relay. Come back and we'll close the report." I agreed. I needed the overtime. I grabbed the company truck, filled out the log sheet, and headed down the back route that led toward the farm fields. The first 10 minutes weren't bad. Paved roads, a few houses with porch lights still on. But once I turned onto the gravel road, everything changed. The darkness swallowed my headlights in a way I'd never seen before. My beams reached maybe 20 feet ahead, then just vanished into an ocean of black. No reflectors, no signs, no other cars. I rolled down the windows halfway just to make sure I wasn't imagining the quiet. Nothing. No insects, no wind. Just the crunch of gravel underneath the tires. I drove slowly. The truck wasn't exactly built for rough roads. About 15 minutes in, something appeared in my headlights. A figure, walking, dead center in the middle of the road. At first I didn't panic. There were occasionally hunters, maybe farmers checking their property lines, maybe someone whose truck broke down earlier. But as I got closer, a cold feeling crept into my chest. He was walking straight ahead, not drifting, not stumbling, just walking in a perfectly straight line down the exact center of the road. He didn't react to my headlights at all, didn't look back, didn't flinch, didn't shift aside. I slowed to nearly a crawl, the truck creeping behind him. I couldn't see his face. His hood was up, hands stuffed deep inside his pockets. He wore a dark windbreaker, jeans and boots. I leaned out the window a little. "Hey, you good?" My voice sounded too loud in that empty place. He didn't answer, didn't turn, didn't nod, didn't even twitch. I honked once, a short, gentle horn tap, the kind you'd use in a parking lot. That's when he froze. Not gradually, not like he got startled. He stopped instantly, like someone cut the power to his body. My skin crawled. I didn't want to get out of the truck. Everything in me screamed not to. Something about the way he stood there, with his back to me, felt wrong. I reversed a few feet. He didn't move. Then slowly, almost painfully slowly, he tilted his head to the right. Just a few degrees, just enough to make my stomach drop. It was such an unnatural motion, like he wasn't checking something. He was listening, measuring, deciding. I rolled up my window, locked the doors. My breathing was the only sound inside the truck, and I realized I was breathing too fast, too loud. After a few seconds, he stepped off the road. Not toward the ditch, not toward a path. He stepped into the field, into the tall grass, and disappeared. Just walked straight into the dark, unlit crop field, like he had a destination in mind. I sat there frozen for maybe 30 seconds before I forced myself to breathe again. "Just a guy," I whispered. "Just a weird guy walking home." But the road ahead of me felt different after that, like the darkness had weight now, like the air itself was watching me. I continued toward the tower, gripping the steering wheel too tightly. The red light on top of the structure blinked slowly in the distance, a single pulse every few seconds, closer and closer. Eventually, I reached the fence perimeter. I parked the truck, grabbed my flashlight and clipboard, and approached the control panel. It looked fine, just a blown relay. I logged it, took photos, marked the coordinates, and walked back to the truck. My nerves were settling a little, enough that I sighed and put the gear shift in reverse. I checked the rearview mirror and stopped breathing. Someone was standing at the tree line behind me, a silhouette, tall, perfectly still. I couldn't see details, just a long, shadowy shape where the darkness met the dim glow of the tower's beacon light. My stomach twisted. I clicked off the truck's headlights, thinking maybe the glare was casting weird shadows. The shape didn't disappear. It didn't move. It just stood there. My hand hovered over the ignition. I didn't want to startle whatever it was, or whoever it was, but I also couldn't stay parked. I turned the key slowly. The engine rumbled alive. For 3 long seconds, Nothing happened. Then the headlights clicked back on automatically, and the silhouette was suddenly closer. Not by a little, by a lot. Half the distance between us had vanished. I screamed. I don't mind admitting it. I slammed the truck into drive and tore down the gravel road so fast the tires skidded, spraying rocks behind me. My heartbeat was so loud it drowned out the engine. Every 100 feet or so, I checked the mirrors. Nothing. 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 I didn't stop when the gravel road ended. I didn't even slow down until I reached the main highway and saw real lights, street lights, traffic, civilization. When I finally pulled over, I opened the door and threw up on the pavement. My hands were shaking, my face numb. I got back in the truck and sat there for several minutes, breathing hard against the steering wheel. I wrote the report the next morning. I left out everything about the man. My supervisor stared at the photos for a long time and didn't say anything, but later that afternoon, he called me into his office. He looked pale, shaken. "Can I ask you something?" he said quietly. "Did you see anyone out there?" I swallowed hard. "No." He nodded slowly, like he didn't believe me but also didn't want the truth. 3 days later, the same tower went down again. This time, he went alone. When he came back, he didn't talk to anyone for the rest of the shift. He sat at his desk, staring at nothing, his hands trembling slightly. He quit 2 weeks after that. I followed a month later. I haven't been back down Radio Tower Road since. But sometimes, when I'm driving late at night or stuck at a red light or waiting in a parking lot, I catch myself staring into fields or empty tree lines too long. And every single time, I feel like something is standing there, watching, waiting, not moving, just listening. The same way he did when he first tilted his head on that gravel road. I didn't mean to end up on Fire Road 7 that night. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that part of the forest. But the storm changed everything. It was late September, around 10:57 p.m. One of those nights where the air felt heavy and warm, like the storm had been waiting all day to finally break open. I had taken my old SUV out for a drive to clear my head. No destination, no plan, just quiet roads and my thoughts for company. I didn't realize how fast the storm was moving until the first lightning strike cracked across the sky. The boom felt like it hit directly above the car. Rain followed seconds later, hard, dense sheets that erased the road instantly. My wipers struggled, and within minutes, visibility dropped to almost nothing. I should have turned around right then. I know that now. Instead, I kept going until a fallen tree blocked the main route. I stopped, put the car in reverse, and tried to backtrack, but the weather was so intense that I completely missed the turn I came from. GPS? Dead. No signal at all. Lightning flashed again, illuminating an old metal sign half swallowed by brush. Fire Road 7. No public access. I don't know why, but the arrow beneath it looked like the only option. I figured the road would loop back to the main highway, so I turned onto it. Immediately, everything got worse. The dirt road was narrow, uneven, and more mud than ground. The trees pressed close together, blocking out even the lightning flashes. My headlights felt weaker than usual, swallowed by the storm in the forest. The deeper I went, the more wrong everything felt. Like the road was pulling me in. Like stopping wasn't possible anymore. I kept telling myself, just follow it until it connects back. Just keep going. But the rain kept getting heavier, the wind sharp enough to bend branches, the thunder closer and closer. At one point, a tree split in half from a lightning strike barely 20 yards off the road. I felt that shock in my bones. The road dipped downward suddenly, twisting right, and that's when my tires hit a patch of thick mud. The car skidded, fishtailed, and slammed into something, maybe a stump or a rock. The passenger side jolted upward, and before I could react, the engine sputtered and died. Just like that. Silence. Except the rain hammering the roof. I tried to restart it. Nothing. Tried again. Just a hollow clicking noise. I tried to breathe, steady, but panic was already creeping in. I wasn't supposed to be here. Nobody even used this road. The nearest house was miles away. I checked my phone. Still no signal. Still dead GPS. Lightning flashed again, and this time, I saw something through the trees ahead. A shape, square, low to the ground. Some kind of structure, a shelter. I didn't want to get out of the car. Not in that storm, not on that road. But staying inside wasn't safe either. If the water kept rising, the car could get stuck, flooded, or worse. So I grabbed my jacket, shoved the door open against the wind, and stepped out. The rain hit me so hard it felt like gravel. My clothes were drenched instantly. Branches shook overhead, groaning in the wind. I used my phone flashlight, shielding it from the storm with my hand, and walked toward the shape I'd seen. The mud sucked at my boots. The wind pushed me sideways. I kept expecting a branch to break off and hit me. By the time I reached the structure, my teeth were chattering from the cold. It wasn't a cabin, and it wasn't a house. It was a storm shelter. Concrete, square. Heavy steel door, half rusted but still intact. A faded sign above it read, "Emergency Refuge, Forestry Use Only." I hesitated. I truly did. Something about the shelter felt wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong. Like it hadn't been opened in years, but something waited behind the door. Lightning hit nearby again, violently bright. The thunder shook the ground. That decided it. I grabbed the steel handle and pulled. The door resisted, then gave way with a thick, dragging groan. The darkness inside swallowed my flashlight beam at first, but slowly the interior took shape. Concrete walls, a bench bolted to the left side, a metal supply cabinet, a small drain in the center of the floor. No windows. It smelled like dust, wet earth, and old air. But at least it was dry. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. The moment the latch clicked, the storm outside muffled into a dull roar. I could finally breathe again. I sat on the bench, pulled out my phone, and shook the water off. Still no signal. My hands were trembling, mostly from the cold, but partly from the adrenaline. I don't know how long I sat there, maybe 10 minutes, before I noticed something strange. The drain in the center of the floor was wet, not damp, wet, like something had recently been poured into it. I looked up. There had been no water leaking from the ceiling, no puddles near the door, nothing else wet in the entire shelter, just the drain. I told myself it was condensation, or runoff, or whatever explanation made the most sense at the time. I needed that lie. But then I saw something else. Scratches. Thin, messy carved lines along the inside of the steel door. Most were faint, some overlapped, but one set stood out. Deep, violent, almost frantic, like someone had clawed at the door with everything they had. I swallowed hard and stood up. My light slid across the walls. More scratches, some small, some long, all clustered around the area near the door. Someone had been trapped in here. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The door hadn't been that heavy. I'd opened it with effort, sure, but not impossible force. Why hadn't they just opened it? The storm rumbled outside. I tried not to think too much, tried to focus on warming up. But then, something shifted behind the supply cabinet. Not loud, just a scrape. Soft, like fabric brushing against the floor. I froze. The cabinet was only a few feet tall, bolted to the wall. I could see the space behind it. Not much, just a gap where the wall met the cabinet's back panel. But something had moved back there. I turned my phone's light toward it. Nothing, just concrete. I told myself it was my imagination. I wanted that to be true. Then the drain gurgled, a low, bubbling sound, like something far beneath was moving. I stepped away from it fast, heart pounding. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Not because I saw anything, not because I heard anything obvious, but because the air inside the shelter had changed. It felt fuller, like someone else was breathing in there with me. Slow, deep. I held my breath. The breathing continued, not from behind the cabinet, not from the drain, from the far right corner, the one place my phone light barely reached. I aimed the beam toward it. The corner was empty, but the breathing didn't stop. It got louder, closer. I stepped back toward the door, hands trembling on the latch. I didn't want to open it and face the storm again, but I wanted to stay inside even less. I pulled the handle. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The door stayed shut. The breathing was behind me now, right behind me. I yanked at the handle with everything I had. It groaned, stuck. Then, thunder shook the shelter and the door jerked open an inch. I shoved it, squeezing myself through the gap, and stumbled out into the storm. The wind nearly knocked me down. Rain stung my skin. But I didn't look back. I didn't breathe until I reached the car. The engine started on the first try. I drove through the storm without thinking, without stopping, without glancing at the rearview mirror once. When I finally reached pavement, my phone lit up with signal again. 3 missed calls, unknown number, 2 voicemail messages. The first voicemail was 4 seconds of static. The second one was breathing. The same breathing I heard inside the shelter. Slow, deep, close. I deleted it immediately. I've never gone back to Fire Road 7. I won't even drive near that part of the forest. But sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet and the house settles, I hear that breathing again, right outside my bedroom door.